This is an epic sci-fi movie featuring interstellar conflicts and alien adventures. The film, The Chronicles of Riddick, with its grand scenes and full-screen special effects, is definitely not to be missed. Amidst swirling snow, on a desolate, unknown planet, the protagonist Riddick leaps and runs between high walls, with a spaceship relentlessly pursuing him. Making a leap, Riddick dodges gunfire and hides in a cave. The bounty hunters think they have the upper hand, but unbeknownst to them, they have become Riddick's prey, using the terrain to his advantage. Riddick cleverly eliminates gunmen on both sides, suddenly appearing above the spaceship. He hears the screams of his companions. The bounty hunters are still clueless as Riddick already sits in front, mocking their foolishness for taking the job and for thinking 4 men were enough to capture him, which he considers an insult. With a small knife, Riddick impresses the bounty hunters, who immediately give in and divulge everything. A month ago, someone on the First Son offered $1 million for Riddick's capture alive, and Riddick guesses who it is. After abandoning the bounty hunters, he heads for the First Son. 5 years ago, as the universe's most wanted criminal, Riddick escaped a monster-infested planet with David and Kyra. To avoid endangering them, he asked David to look after Kyra and hid himself, telling only David his whereabouts, leading him to suspect David betrayed him. Soon, Riddick arrives at the First Son and confronts David about the betrayal. David admits it openly, explaining that the urgently seeking elementals maintain balance in the universe. The elders tell Riddick that the universe faces an unprecedented disaster and he is the hope for salvation. Known as the King among 3 and demigod in form, a tyrant calling himself Martial King emerged in the universe years ago. Possessing divine power, he can destroy a soul with a mere gesture. Leading the Death Legion, he expands across the universe, destroying entire planets if resisted. The elementals need Riddick because of a legend that a warrior from the planet Furia can kill Martial King. To eliminate future threats, Martial King once massacred the Furyen race, but the elementals tracked down Riddick, the last Furyen survivor. Proud by nature, Riddick doesn't believe in fate and cares more for his family than saving the universe. Learning that Kyra went looking for him and got captured by bounty hunters and imprisoned on the planet Flame, Riddick's next destination is her rescue. Suddenly, warships appear over the First Son, spreading massive energy that completely destroys the planet's defenses. Martial King and his Death Legion invade the First Son with unstoppable force. Engaging in fierce battle as the city descends into chaos, Riddick turns back to save David, considering him a partner. But when Riddick arrives, David is already dead, igniting Riddick's rage for revenge. Over one night, the First Son falls completely, and Martial King, brimming with authority, is satisfied with the conquest. Taking the city is just the first step. His next is to destroy morale and reshape faith. His commander Vako, successful in battles, is his right-hand man. His persuader Kree, skilled in manipulation, is his left. In the hall, Kree sweet-talks the resistance into submission. One man stands up to defy him, but Martial King instantly extracts his soul. Under absolute threat, everyone kneels except for Riddick, who declares these people irrelevant to him. He is here only to find and avenge David's killer. The Death Legion, which believes in the survival of the fittest, and Martial King, curious about Riddick's capabilities, face off against his towering guard. Expecting a tough fight, they are shocked as Riddick swiftly kills the guard. Impressed, Martial King wants to recruit him, but Riddick refuses. As tensions mount, Vako's wife steps forward, inviting Riddick to join them. She leads him into Martial King's grand palace into a strange room where Kree pulls a lever, trapping Riddick and slowly extracting his memories. Martial King and Kree are startled by the revelation that a Furyen survivor will kill Martial King and take his place. Martial King had invaded Furia, thinking he had eradicated the threat, yet a survivor remained. In a critical moment, Kree unexpectedly releases Riddick, giving him a chance to escape. After killing a few soldiers, Riddick flees with warships close behind. When a missile destroys a warship, Riddick turns to find the bounty hunter, not there to save him but to capture him for the bounty. At the start of the movie, Riddick had left the bounty hunter and stolen his spaceship. Unexpectedly, the hunter relentlessly pursued him using the ship's tracker to this location. Riddick suddenly surrenders, allowing the bounty hunter to capture him for the bounty. As the spaceship launches, the 2 bounty hunters are thrilled, unaware that Riddick intends to rescue Kyra on the planet Flame, making this ride timely. In the spaceship, Riddick pretends to fear the prison on Flame, tricking the bounty hunter. "If you don't want to go, I insist we do." Meanwhile, Vako has tracked Riddick and his group. To ensure success, Martial King sends Vako and Kree to kill Riddick. Believing in fate, Martial King sees Riddick as the only threat, unaware that Vako has his own plans, conspiring with his wife and waiting for a chance to replace him. Vako has tested Marshal King several times, but each approach is preempted by Marshal King's demigod intuition. Now, with Riddick's emergence, their chance has finally arrived. On the other side, Riddick and his group successfully reach the Flame Planet. True to its name, areas of this planet exposed to sunlight reach temperatures of 1000 degrees, instantly melting anything in their path. The prison is underground, so escapees face certain death. After a rough landing, the ship touches down, and 5 men with guns escort Riddick to the underground prison. Despite being tightly bound with a heavy man on top, Riddick suddenly thrusts upward, throwing the man out of the vehicle to his death. The remaining bounty hunters are indifferent, as fewer partners mean a larger share of the bounty. Soon, Riddick, bound with ropes, is taken to the underground prison. While the bounty hunters and guards haggle over the bounty, Riddick performs a complex gymnastic feat, using his muscular strength to break the handcuffs. Breaking free, a small knife is held to Riddick's throat by a girl who is none other than Kyra, the person he came to save. The once frail girl has become a stunning and dangerous assassin who idolizes Riddick as family. Believing Riddick had abandoned her, she harbors a deep grudge. Suddenly, the roar of beasts echoes. Guards provoke the beasts, feeding them prisoners amid endless screams. Kyra, agile and composed, watches as Riddick removes his eyeshadow, subduing the beasts with his murderous gaze, setting the stage for the story to come. Kyra, cornered by guards making advances, watches calmly as Riddick, holding a teacup, walks out leisurely, offering the guards a choice, leave or die. The 3 exchange glances, draw their blades, but in an instant, one is killed by Riddick with the teacup. This incident finally resolves the tension between Riddick and Kyra, and they begin planning their escape. Meanwhile, the Death Legion's warship appears above the Flame Planet, and the guards think the bounty hunters have come to help, prompting a fight. The bounty hunters, having lost their partners and now caught, are beaten down into the prison. Riddick leaps, stepping on a bounty hunter's head to climb up, finding chaos above. He guesses that before the Death Legion's arrival, the guards had fled through an underground passage. Riddick releases everyone, with the area not yet exposed to sunlight. The only escape route is on foot to the previously abandoned spaceship by the bounty hunters. Time is critical. Once the sunlight hits, raising the temperature to 1000 degrees, no one can survive. Riddick leads, sprinting madly forward on the rugged terrain. The temperature rises, and the horizon's intense light spreads like phoenix wings. The path steepens, turning vertical to the ground as blinding sunlight spreads. Temperatures soar, and steam rises. Desperate, everyone climbs upward. Kyra, trapped in a crevice, looks up as flames mixed with lava surge toward her. Riddick douses himself with water, secures the ropes, then leaps heroically to save her. It must be said, Riddick truly looks stylish at this moment. After a difficult journey, they finally reach the area where the spaceship is parked. But now, Vako's Death Legion has arrived first. With deathly forces ahead and lethal sunlight behind, trapped, the Death Legion and nearby fleeing guards clash, and Riddick sees his chance. With a bold leap, Riddick and a few others enter the chaotic battlefield. Fighting fiercely, Riddick thrives, but even the best skills falter against energy cannons. Vako watches coldly, landing a sneak attack that leaves Riddick powerless. As Riddick kneels, Vako advances, but just as the situation becomes critical, time stops, and a mysterious woman appears behind him. She tells Riddick it's time to carry the Furyen rage and fulfill his destiny. As Riddick's memories and powers fully awaken, the next second, scorching sunlight sweeps in, Riddick collapses, unable to rise, and a disheveled Vako and his men board the spaceship. Kyra, thinking Riddick is dead, turns away in pain, but Riddick, seemingly out of options, is dragged into the shadows by a hand. Riddick wakes to find Marshal King's persuader, Kree, tearing open his shirt. It's revealed that not only Riddick but also Kree is a Furyen survivor. He chose a completely opposite path to Riddick, hiding his identity to survive by serving Marshal King. Riddick's emergence makes Kree confront his own humiliation. He offers Riddick 2 choices: betray his people and live a life of submission like him, or carry the Furyen destiny and end Marshal King for revenge. Kree steps into the scorching sunlight, fulfilling his redemption. As the last Furyen, Riddick, without doubt, faces his destiny, confronting Marshal King in a final showdown. In Marshal King's palace, Vako reports to Marshal King that Riddick's survival is impossible. But before Marshal King can rejoice, Riddick has already infiltrated the palace, launching an assassination attempt. Marshal King, overwhelmingly powerful, treats Riddick's attempt as child's play, bringing in Kyra. Now subdued, Marshal King plans to break destiny by showcasing the Death Legion's creed: victory defines kingship, and anyone who defeats him will be the new king. the final duel begins, and Marshal King, with his demigod stature, is invincible in speed and strength. Riddick is beaten effortlessly. Marshal King, invoking his divine power, seizes Riddick's soul. Riddick resists, and his powerful spirit not only overturns Marshal King but also enrages him. Marshal King's power surges, his attacks leaving Riddick defenseless. As Riddick faces imminent death, Kyra, pretending to surrender, finally acts, critically injuring Marshal King. Kyra is thrown against a blade-filled rack, barely alive. Vako's wife, unable to wait any longer, encourages Riddick, who has been watching the battle, to enter the fray and kill Marshal King to become the new king. At this moment, Marshal King, thinking Vako is loyally protecting him, starts to rise, but in the next instant, Vako swings a giant axe at him. Using his divine power, Marshal King dodges the axe, but when he turns around, Riddick, carrying the Furyen fire, fulfills his destiny. Vako's wife roars, her schemes ultimately benefiting Riddick. Reluctantly, Vako and his men kneel, recognizing the victor. Kyra dies in Riddick's arms, and he sits on the throne, becoming the new king of the universe after losing everything. Vako and his wife will not rest, and Riddick will also undergo a rebirth on a monster-filled planet. Let's unveil the answers in the third installment.